Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closers Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. We are honored to have back in our credit messiah, the man, the myth, the legend from Get Fundable, Mr. Merrill Chandler, who's been a bit of a gallivanting guy across the country recently in COVID. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Truly, I'm doing spectacular. Thank you for having me on again. I've been in the last 3 weekends. I've been in LA, Sarasota, Florida, and then back to Newport Beach, California. So a couple of masterminds, a couple research conferences. I mean, and then everybody's shutting their, which is what we're talking about today. Everybody's now re-shutting down their states. I'm surprised that it's not like no interstate travel on the airlines, right? It's like, I'm sorry, you cannot go from Indianapolis to Oklahoma, no longer possible, right? So a lot of travel, a lot of great research, because COVID is, regardless of how we feel about the disease, the pandemic, what's the results of it? The results are undeniable, and we have to deal with those results, right? Now, ultimately, it's less relevant why we have these results, but I'm telling you, there is so many things to have hope about in this pandemic. And it's kind of like a bounce, right? We've just bounced off of a W, they call it a W recovery instead of a V recovery. So yeah, we're heading down into another one. And I saw another 3 governors be like, we need to do the following, right? And they want to keep up mandatory masks, mandatory sequestering, except for unless. And how many people are being told not to go see their families on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, right.
That was the one. Well, I thought, hold it, but you're saying that we cannot have groups of more than 10 people and not see our families on Thanksgiving, so only small families can actually get together, right? So anyway, what are your thoughts? What's been your experience out there, Scott, with regards to how the financial markets and the banks are responding with the REOs and their and the pending foreclosure mess? I keep telling people we have like 5 months, 6 months before the moratorium stop. Talk to me. How's that going?
So everybody I talk to is waiting for December 15th to see what happens with the executive order. Is it going to be extended? Is Trump going to give Biden a middle finger and extend it for 6 months? Is it going to stay? Is he going to let it expire and deal with something else? So that's really where everybody's at right now. That's exactly. There was an article today in CNN talking about like 6 million renters are facing trouble across the country because they don't know if there's going to be evicted come January,
right?
And what's going on, and it's an interesting time right now. Now, obviously, every place I go, stuff will probably cracks because I'm not leaving the house very often. We leave like, right. And like I live like within like a stone, like a Tiger Woods drive away from my house to the movie theaters, the grocery store, and like Lowe's and Home Depot. Okay,
right. Everything you need is within walking distance.
Pretty much, if I wanted to. But the thing is, we actually got up and took a 10-minute drive this weekend and went north up to Cedar Park, which is just a little bit.
You just wanted to see if there was more country left than the island you're living in, right?
Yeah, basically, exactly.
Is there a zombie apocalypse outside of my my neighborhood?
But the funny thing is, Steph was always like cracking. It was like, I'm like, oh, that place is vacant now. Oh, there's a for lease sign there. Oh, that business is not there anymore. And that's what the thing I keep seeing is more and more businesses closing, more and more for lease signs, for rents. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I'm like, okay, so they closed the Starbucks that was nearest. They closed the taco shack because here in Texas, tacos are important, right?
Yeah.
Okay? All right. They closed the taco shack, and another taco shack moved into the taco shack, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes, but has Torchy's closed anywhere?
Torchy's is still doing fine. They still rock and rolling.
It's only because they have such a high rep that they could lose 90% of their business and now just be busy instead of crowded.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. But they started serving alcohol, so people come get their
Oh,
margaritas
that yeah,
now.
that's how we survive. We
Exactly,
self-medicate. Well, yeah,
exactly.
that's what I kind of wanted to address today is the cities that are being just pummeled. But
Yeah.
and the article we're referring to, the COVID, the cities with the most financial distress, right?
Hmm.
And then kind of what to do about her. What are the, because I've got some tips and techniques that I want to share with your listeners to make sure that we can protect everything we can as much as we can, right?
Right, right,
So you're right. Here's the interesting thing. You're going past your neighborhood and seeing more vacancies or people who are pulling up stakes, right?
right.
In Utah, we're in a bubble, but it's not a real estate bubble. Still, there are so many companies that are leaving California and coming to Silicon Slopes instead of Silicon Valley.
Right.
Very intelligent. I mean, the present company was standing. A very intelligent workforce, highly
Yep.
educated workforce, low cost, relatively speaking, workforce, low cost housing, low cost business expenses. They're coming over in droves, and and our real estate prices continue to, there's like 10 to 15 offers on every single thing that comes up. My daughter, who is also a live and flipper, excuse me, she's a live and flipper, and they actually had to go out to an area that they're putting in tons of infrastructure, but it's more of a 10-year growth model than the 2 to 3 year growth model closer to where she is right now, just so she could afford the payment. So she's going to be out in Magna, but in 10 years, if things continue to go the way they are, she's going to have 2 or 3 homes and an 800 plus fundable profile. So there's so I'm not seeing the same things that the rest of the country is. In fact, in this list, cities with the most people in financial distress, there were several criteria, like total credit score, the delta in credit score, right? The change in credit score. There is the actual people in distress, the quantified number of people in distress, the average number of accounts on a credit report, right? The people not paid 30-day late, 60,
Yep.
90-day late, bankruptcy filings, and interest in debt, like debt interest being paid. And each one of these, and interest on revolving accounts and interest on installment loans. And Salt Lake City is not even on this list of 50. It's not even here because we're living in a bubble. But I did want to reach out to all my compadres all over the country so that we know what's happening and what to do about it. So
coming from your impact, and you look at those 9 or 6 characteristics in the article, and we're talking about the article that Walt Hub put out a few weeks ago. We talked about it briefly on a previous episode, actually just called it the United Cities of Distress. Okay.
Yeah, United Cities.
We talked about the top 10, but the thing that I wanted to have you is, when you see that, what's the thing in your background and your experience, Mayor? What's the one category there that really kind of, not the cities, maybe it is the cities, what's the one thing that disturbs you the most about that you see a big increase? Is it the increase in drop in credit scores, increase in bankruptcy filings?
So I'm a credit scores sensitive, but every one of these affect my clients, my students, right? Because there's distress, and then there's late pays, and then there's the resulting credit scores. So for me, this is like a cascade falling down. So every one, the preceding ones affect the later scores. The things that kind of disturb me the most, or is that it's the rural America is being hit. The smaller cities, right, in rural America. If we look delta in credit scores, we got Indianapolis, Oklahoma, Corpus Christi, Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, these are cities, but they're in a a more of a rural, there's the city and then there's gobs and gobs of countryside, right?
Yep.
And so it appears, again, I haven't done any FICO statistical analysis, but anecdotally, there appears to be a significant, it's weighted towards the cities that are influenced or are in parts of the country that don't have a lot of borrower training, borrower education. There's not a lot of sophistication in high finance, right? San Francisco is like the last in line when it comes to the worst cities. New York City, way down on, because there's a certain degree of sophistication, because you may live in Corpus Christi, but if you're a financier, you're going to move to San Francisco, you're going to move to New York, Austin. You're going to move.
Yeah. I grew up in Corpus Christi, so I can speak directly to the Bay Area. I grew up there. Mom and dad lived there. We moved across. We lived in a small town of 3,500 people across the bay from Corpus Christi called Ingleside. Yeah. Corpus Christi, for that aspect of it, you have a high, the majority is Hispanics. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Hispanics, and it's also the oil industry and the natural gas industry in there. Diamond Shamrock or, huge refineries down there in Corpus Christi. And them expanding the port, they're expecting Corpus to become like the number 5 largest port in the world, or not only in the world, but in the country anyway. Houston up the road, but Corpus is a big one. But the thing that falls in place there is you have all these layoffs. You don't have a very financially knowledge community.
Yeah, it's the financial sophistication, right? Yeah. Which is my mission in the first place. Is the million borrower march, right? Is kind of what I'm just playing around in my head. Educating 1 million borrowers who have not had previous education. Now, we're not talking financial literacy, right? Right. What's a checking account? The rule of 72, where your interest doubles in 7 years. Yep. Yeah. I'm talking about how do you borrow money, and how do you get a lender to want to lend to you, right? True borrower education, which is what the boot camp or the podcasts, all of it's all about. But I just cannot see, or I can't help but seeing that there is where there is less sophistication by the borrowers, right? I know what my dad taught me, that and that's the only level of education that those are the cities that are being crushed. Number of accounts in distress. Now, here's another one. There's North Las Vegas, and there is Madison, Wisconsin, Fresno, California, Omaha, Nebraska, right? There again, cities, but they're outside of the finance circles. They're outside of that realm.
Well, I would also be willing to bet there are also sites of major universities that have not brought back, because you think of Fresno State. Omaha is, Lincoln, Nebraska is there, but you also have Omaha is what's the university? I'll think of it. But you have a lot of these college towns that I was looking at that have major universities that have stopped. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have when they're the major employers of the university and kids aren't coming back to campus.
To school, they're not pay. They're furloughing. That's the term, so you don't have to pay. I'm an employer. You're an employer, but there's something to be said about taking care of your people and doing your best when you furlough somebody so they can't get unemployment benefits, even temporarily, but at the same time you don't lay them off, then all of a sudden they're stuck in this middle ground of not being able to have resources to get them to help them get through, even if it's a temporary layoff. So I think there's just I don't know, this just totally gets me amped up again about, or I'm already at 120%, but where we got to get this message out there, right? There is a way to navigate all this if you know what you're doing. You don't have to spend more money. So let me can I give a few tips to your listeners?
Yes, let's do that. Yes.
And I don't believe I've covered these. If you've seen in my web classes or something, indulge me because you might have forgotten these. But the first thing, if you have to do a moratorium on any of your payments, right? Credit payments, mortgages, auto leases, whatever your bank is offering, make sure, there's kind of it's not shady, but they are still, but the lenders are still trying to protect their interests. There's called a current. Even if you're late, they'll say it's current, but they will say due to national disaster. That comment is a negative indicator, even though you have a positive account, and God bless the lenders. I was just reading that they're the most capitalized they've been in 100 years right now.
Yep.
So they can afford.
That's a direct correlation to we having the most amount of savings being deposited in banks right now. Most amount of people are saving, waiting for their day. So yes, what's the bank doing? They're giving that 0.01% because now they're more capitalized because of what they have in.
It's crazy. And so what we need to remember, guys, team, tribe, is that every one of whenever we're going to navigate or negotiate a moratorium, a deferral of a payment, you want to ask them in language that they can understand. You want to ask them and say, will it say current? Will it say paid as agreed? Can you not report subject to natural disaster or the result of natural disaster? If you can get them, they have to manually take that comment off of your account. If you can get them to take that comment off your account, then it looks like business as usual, paid as agreed, moving forward. Now, remember, we're just playing the funding game. They set the rules, and we just have learned the rules and know how to navigate this place. So our ultimate idea is to still stay current. If they're going to allow us, by the grace of the funding gods, they're allowing us to defer these payments, but make sure the notation is removed. We don't want anything associated with resulting from natural disaster or any language similar. If you can keep that off your report, your fundability, your score may not change, but the notation in the background, remember pulling back the curtain and the little guys playing with the bells and wizards in the Wizard of Oz, the bells and whistles. You want to make sure that the fundability of your credit account stays high. So do remember that. If you can avoid not taking advantage of a deferment or a moratorium on a payment, then that's your best play because they are keeping track. I have dozens. Last week was a FICO symposium, and I attended the FICO symposium. And once again, it's like looking into to see how the sausage is made, right? I literally am seeing everything that lenders are looking for to grade you as a borrower. So you want to make sure that you don't have any late pays where possible, and make sure that notation is removed. The next thing is, if you're stuck, if you only have limited income, if you're borrowing from family or friends, or your unemployment if you're limited on resources, you got to promise me to do this, guys. Never make a minimum payment. Now, this is only on your revolving accounts, your credit cards. This isn't your mortgage. This isn't your auto loan, your student loans. But on your credit cards and your what are called revolving accounts, never make the minimum payment. You've got to. You want to make $1, $2, $3, $5, $7 more than the minimum payment, because what the software is measuring is it's looking for what is owed as a minimum payment and what you pay. And if those are the same, if they are the exact same number, and you do it for more than 3 or more months in a row, you're sending the message, and the algorithm is calculating that you don't have any more money. and that you're going to be high risk. And so don't make the minimum payment. Make $1 or $2 or $3 or $5 more than that, and switch it up every month. $7, $2, $3, $8, $6, $5 more than the minimum payment. These are ways in which you can protect, so you don't end up, well, whatever city you live in, you don't end up in having a long-term 7-year record of your financial distress. There's the debt, there's what you owe, and then there's the evidence of the debt. There's a way to have the stress and remove the evidence for anybody to know about it. Okay, so vital. Also, the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, go to annualcreditreport.com. I believe they're going to extend it, but until April of next year, they're allowing you to pull what's called the consumer disclosure files, your raw data files. They're letting you pull them for free every week.
Wow.
Every week. Annualcreditreport.com. If you can get that's where you check it. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you any credit score points. Annualcreditreport.com. And you'll be able to see what the lenders are seeing, the raw data the lenders are looking at. And those notations will be there, due to financial disaster or otherwise, or a national disaster. So those are a couple of things that I just want to make sure your people know. And if you have if you've got an extra $1 or $2 or $29.95, if you want to know the truth of your entire situation, go to myfico.com. That's myfico.com. And you can get a subscription that updates quarterly, but it's 28 FICO scores. All 3 of your mortgage scores, all 3 of your auto loan scores, all 3 of your credit card scores. There are 28 FICO scores, the actual scores the lenders use to approve you. Monitor. If you get no other, Credit Karma is a FICO joke. That's a FICO score. That's a complete FICO score. So anything that you guys are, if you've got a few dollars extra and you want to know the truth of your situation, go to myfico.com.
Love it. I love it. Now, here's the thing. Let's flip it up, because we are coming to the end of the year. I mean, we've got, as we're filming this, roughly 6 weeks left in Armageddon.
Yeah, 2020, WTF.
I know, right? What the fundable.
What the fundable.
So we talked about this last year at the same time, and it was a really exceptional episode. People talking about the biggest mistakes people make around the holidays. And we mentioned a couple of things. One, going in, you want to put on your credit card. I've been seeing that. Save 10% today by signing up for a new credit card to pay for your kids' gifts, to pay for Christmas. That's a big no-no, right?
Yes.
But also, let's talk about this. If somebody has been responsible for their credit, it has done a really good job. Maybe they want to buy a new vehicle. Maybe they're looking to buy a new house or an investment property, or looking at some lines of credit. What are some things, if they've taken responsibility for their numbers, what are some things that they should probably dive into to take advantage of right now? Any ideas?
Oh, yeah. So first things first, I do want to reinforce the fact that guys, every store who offers the offer that Scott's referring to, it's get 10% off, 20% off if you fill out this application. Three very powerful negative things occur. Number one, you get an inquiry from what's called a tier 4 lender. The tier 4 lenders think of them as hard money lender types. All of your mall store cards, your online cards, anything that has the word finance in it, all of those are what are called tier 4, and FICO and lender software actually downgrade your fundability, because what you're applying for is a consumer finance account. Those are negative, bad juju. Don't do it. Okay. I'd rather you ask for a limit increase than get a new card. a limit increase. Now, that's the first thing is that's bad. The card is bad juju, and the inquiry for that card counts more against you than if you go to Bank of America or BB&T or PNC. The actual inquiry costs you more. It says that you're a consumer. It says that you're not a professional or sophisticated borrower. And so it sends a whole slew of messages, bad messages. The second thing is you want to, if you get approved for it, it gives you a big fat 0 on its age. So let's say you have 100 months in current credit cards and you're looking good, and you get a new credit card that's 0 months. Let's say you have one credit card that's 100 months old and new 0, you just drop from 100 months average age to 50 months average age. That will show up in a 20+ point reduction in your profile. So the new card is low value, but it's also harmful to your credibility as a long-term borrower. You're just going out, and if it's happening in November and December before Black Friday, which now they're calling just Black November now, holy hell. If it's happening before Black Friday, if it's happening for Christmas, they know that those are spikes in credit requests, and the 85% of those spikes are all for mall store cards and what are called low value cards, tier 4 cards. You don't want these on your profile. So now I just want to cover that again because we talked about it last year, but so vital, guys. You can literally hammer the soul of your credit profile just by doing that one thing. Don't do it. Ask for a raise in a limit of one of your current cards if you need to borrow money for Christmas.
It's literally like being penalized. It's literally like giving yourself a lump of coal in January in your stocking. Not anything good.
Yeah, you don't need Santa to give you a lump of coal. You're going to give it to yourself. It's going to be a coal pit in the center of your fundability stomach. This cold black heart. Yeah, yeah. No, guys, if you can avoid it at all costs, please do so.
So I was going to asking, as they do, what are some things that if somebody does have responsibility is it a good time in the end of the year to be buying a car? Or is it a good time to go and buy and take advantage of these zero low interest rates?
Excellent second part of the question. So some of the big things that you can do, remember, you're going to talk to your tax people and or your accountants, but one of the things that you want to do is decide with them which kind of purchases that you can put on credit. Like let's say you're in good shape and you're moving forward. There are certain expenses that if you buy it outright, you get to expense the entire amount before December 31st instead of amortizing it over the full full period. So because the way credit works is that with the merchant, let's say you're buying a car on credit, you're with your credit profile, you're buying a new house, you're buying essential materials for a flip that you're going to be doing in January or February. The more you buy now, the transaction with the vendor of those materials or the house or the car, that is a completed sale when you use credit. That sale is complete. That you have payment plans with a third party does not necessarily get in the way of having to amortize it over time. You get to expense it. I'm all about expensing every possible thing I can. Now, again, talk to your accountants or your tax people for the details, but the transaction is complete when you purchase it on credit, whether it's a revolving account or you're using your or you're buying a car or a new house. Now, whatever you can do, get it done by 12/31, because I don't know if 21 we're going to have the same tax structures that we have today. I blow neither way in the political wind. All I know is that we get to deal with whatever's in front of us, and so I'm a pragmatist that way. So if I have no power over the control over the political machine, then I'm not going to worry about the political machine, and I'm going to worry about what's in my front yard and my backyard. So this is a very favorable tax year. So maximize whatever you can through the acquisition, sweep accounts, whatever you're doing, do it before December 31st, because there's not a lot of, if anything in taxes change, I don't think they're going to put it out to 2023. You will enact this in 2023. We'll enact this in 2022. It might be June of 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and for those of you who have real estate or note empires, remember, again, I don't want to be in anybody else's lane, but when it comes to fundability, when it comes to using your credit, then make sure that you stay under the 40% back. If you're going to carry a balance, maintain and stay under 40%. If you want to keep asking for limit increases, stay under 30%. By and large, those are rules. Banks vary, but I've come to find out with all of our the evidence and data from our clients and our students, that you don't want to carry large balances. If you can deploy the capital, don't get another business credit card, get a business loan, and use that capital to do the work that you need to. So look at all long-term planning for 2021 and do what you can. And if you'd like any advice whatsoever, come to my boot camp. It's an open forum. It's not like you're just listening the whole time. There are 32 strategies that we review. There's huge Q&A after every strategy. So come and find out what those strategies are and how to do that. I believe the last boot camp of the year is in October, and this might have already expired.
November.
Next one will be in January.
Yeah. Okay.
So it'll be January 8th and 9th. But make sure that you talk to your accounts about what you can do before the end of this tax year, before we go into what might be a different kind of tax environment.
Yeah, just a little bit. I was going to ask you if you've read any of the things that so-and-so has up his sleeve to try to implement. I know that he's talking about removing the 1031 exchange policy for a lot of people. That would be a big, but nothing's set in stone yet, but still that's kind of scary in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's all I know is no matter who's in office, we're going to pay us plebs are got to be flexible.
Yeah.
Because there's radical on either side, and we just got to know which way the wind is blowing. In fact, I was at a mastermind. Oh, Eddie Wilson. So yep. I was listening to Eddie Wilson in a presentation that he did when I was in Sarasota, and somebody asked him about political climate, and he goes, "Here's the thing. I'm not in charge of who wins this thing. What I know is I have investment strategies for whoever happens to." So he used the example: if one party wins, then I'm going into solar, wind, and green initiatives and investing there. If another party wins, I'm going into oil, coal, and other initiatives. Right? He's going to invest based on who's pulling, who's enacting or enforcing law. And I thought that was genius. I believe fundamentally we need to stay to what we have power over, right? I don't have power over all that mess. So I got power over my decisions. Mm-hmm. And so whatever happens, I'm going to invest accordingly, plan accordingly, and make sure that I have my strategies, that I have the greatest likelihood of success, regardless. It's just choosing strategy A over strategy B, or vice versa.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to be flexible. That's the most powerful thing that we like to say. And you're a big preacher. Hey, be flexible. Work it where you can, because there is a different sliding scale, and you don't have to always worry about one negative thing. A lot of times the other things can go around and make up and
Right.
go beyond the negative thing, because everybody thinks about their late pays. Well, you've beat that into our heads. Like, wait, it's not about your past, it's more about what you do going forward.
Yeah, it's the next 24 months, right? Not the
Right.
last 24 months, because you can't. There's nothing that you can change. So just hold on tight, guys. If you like roller coasters, this is going to be a big one. Whatever happens, just keep the faith. Take care of your loved ones, your families, and just implement. Come to my boot camp. Learn how to protect your profile, regardless of what's going on out there. And I would like to say this. This is kind of like the message that I have, guys. We can either be right or we can be happy. So don't, just because someone believes differently than you do, man, you never know. You never know who's going to be having the next best deal to offer you. And don't burn bridges. Don't.
That's the
shit
biggest
where
thing that.
Don't
Yeah,
shit
that's
where
the biggest,
you eat.
biggest thing I see. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, because I see this over and over and over on social media. The country is pretty much 74 million, roughly, to 71 million voters. And
it's just split.
And if it's split, if you start damning the other party that voted differently, you're half the country. You're burning a bridge with half the country.
Yeah, I don't get that. I am not a I'm a zealot for a lot of things, but lambasting and shaming and criticizing another person's beliefs, there's no room in it in profit, guys. There's no room in it in profit. If you want to be profitable, there's no room for shaming your neighbor or business people or whatever. You never know. I have learned it doesn't happen often, but I've learned when somebody comes to me and they're not happy or they need to back out of an agreement that we've made or otherwise, I have found that by rather than being right, I want to be happy. I want us to part as friends. So whatever the negotiation is, I have found that people have come back sometimes years later, said, Merrill, you treated me right. And guess what? I want to introduce you to so-and-so.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if someone's across the aisle or in a different church or a different color skin. It does not matter. If you are open, if you are kind and respectful, then the goods will come your way. I read what is waiting for you. What you are waiting for is also waiting for you. So, guys, I'm not going to shut any doors, and I'm certainly not going to make a stand on something that I got no power over. So I'll get off my soapbox now. Love
it. Now, with you going to the FICO event recently, was there a big aha moment from there? Anything that kind of stood out?
It was the symposium was online. Technically, if it's available, it's supposed to be in Orlando. The FICO World is supposed to be in Orlando in April. We'll see what happens. But in this event, the biggest message was, how do lenders take care of their people, and what are the fraudsters? What are strategies that fraudsters will do in this environment? And so they've already the SBA has already run fraudulent PPP loans, EIDL loans, and they're collecting that data to throw it in their mix. So it was, how do we protect ourselves was the big message for them. And how do we take care of our borrowers? Because the borrowers are they're going to leave your bank and go find somebody who treats them well. Borrowers are not. In fact, there was one presentation that says, we all think of the borrowers as the bad guy, or what are they going to do to try and steal from me? The vast majority of their customers are good depositors who are looking for a leg up and looking to borrow money to do that. And if you don't treat them right now, they're not going to be around to treat in any fashion later. And so and online banking, Google banking is coming down the pipe. There's going to be a lot more competition than there is right now. And Google is coming. It looks like Google, because of some purchases of some banking assets, they may come in at a tier 3 or a tier 2, not normally like SoFi, Prosper, Marcus. all those fintechs came in at a tier 4 because they were financial companies, right? Google, I don't know where, maybe they listen to my podcast. I don't know, but they're coming in at a tier 3 or tier 2.
Wow.
Right out of the freaking gate. So a lot of great things are happening, guys, but we got to be flexible. We got to be kind. We got to be respectful and be like yoga flexible.
Right. Now, how does how does that compare to where the Apple Card is at? What's Apple?
Apple came in. Apple is a tier 2 80%.
Okay.
Because it came in with who's underwriting it? Damn it. I want to say Solomber Brothers. They're out of business. Well, who's
Goldman Sachs? Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, thank you. Goldman Sachs is a tier 2, and so so since it's co-branded, it's a tier 2 80% because we dock 20% off of that. So they came in at tier 2, and of course Apple, massive, but I still don't recommend people get it because I want everybody to have tier 1s. But if you're, my entire business runs on Apple, right? We have Apple corporate accounts. In fact, one of my business leases is an Apple lease. So yeah, they came in high at tier 2. Whereas Google, though, it's got a, Goldman Sachs was already a bank, and so they're underwriting Apple's card. Google actually wants to get into the personal banking business, and so that's why they may have to work their way up.
Interesting. Very interesting. What would Google do is a whole new idea out there.
WWGD.
Yeah.
WWGD. What would Google do?
They had a book I read years ago that actually helped inspire a lot of things in what we do, because it's Google, when they built their platform, it's like, oh, we're going to share a platform so people can go create all these great apps and things off it versus trying to hide everything. And that's more the open mentality versus everything being closed and hidden aspect of the older.
Which is what Apple has been forever, right?
Yep.
So you had Google and Apple to just hardcore. They changed. You have an Apple. They changed they have security updates. Well, actually, those are additionally patented codes that you can't touch their operating system. And yet Google is kind of is far more open and flexible.
Yeah, good stuff, Merrill.
Apple.
Yeah, right.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm there's just so much going on, and nothing, and dissing on somebody is not going to serve us. It's never going to serve us personally. You can be right or you can be happy. Rarely are we both. Ask your spouse who likes to be right.
Sometimes being wrong is being happy.
Yeah. So just know, are they really happy all the time because they're right all the time? Yeah. Doesn't look like that to me. So
I love it. I find that fascinating, Mr. Merrill.
Right.
Good stuff, brother. Hey, you guys be safe there, and we look forward to seeing you in person at some point. All right, brother?
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closure Show. Check it out. If you have not taken a Get Fundable Bootcamp in 2020, first of all, shame on you. And second, make your most of the new year. Or if you're not going to do it here the next couple of days, get online. Go check out getfundablebootcamp.com. Start planning now. I know we're 6 weeks out as we're recording this till 2021. But don't wait till the new year to start making plans. If you want to do some big things the next year and be flexible and build your credit and help you, do it now. Start planning that now. And for tickets starting at $97, guys and gals, is the most affordable thing you can do and invest in your future.
Yeah. Getfundablebootcamp.com. Just go there, grab a ticket, write it off this year, attend next year, and you're solid. And if you're interested, if you've been watching the podcast, if you've been doing all this, guys, and you just want some assistance in walking this fundability path, spend your join as a client before 2021, right? Just get on board now, and we'll figure out all the things that we can make a big difference in your fundability over the next few months.
Love it. See you later, man. Be safe, buddy.
Thanks. Be well.